Welcome to the Never Too Late podcast, brought to you by Upright Truth Tellers Clothing. In this podcast, we meet inspiring people who have changed their lives in a positive way and whose stories let you know it's never too late. Welcome to the Never Too Late podcast. My name is Raquel.
And I'm Sua, or Josh.
Yeah, and we got a very special guest here today, Melodownz. Thank you so much for jumping on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. So before we start, we always ask our guests to say a little about themselves and where they're from and what they're about.
So my name's Bronson. I'm an artist. Do rap music, hip hop music, poetry. I'm always in the community as well, doing like community initiatives and all that. So I'm kind of like, I like to be known as like an activator, or because I know like some people are like rapper and you're labeled like a rapper
And that's it.
or baker or something, you know. Like I feel like it puts limitations onto us as like artists and beings. So yeah, just creative really. And I'm originally from if I take it way back, originally from Grey Lynn. Like my family is from Grey Lynn, and then they moved to Avondale when I was like a baby, before I was even born. And then I've kind of been raised in Central in Avondale most of my life, but I call Avondale home. That's kind of where my childhood was and my upbringing and that. So, I'm Samoan, Māori, European descent. I'm from Vaitaloa and Vaimoso up in Apia, and Napoi, Kaikoi on my Māori side, and London on my English side. So yeah, Recently, I've been trying to reconnect with all of my cultures and that, especially my Māori side, because I got raised more on my Samoan side. So it's cool to just discover a new culture and stuff of what's already in your blood. So yeah.
That's mean also. I love that.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's awesome that you're trying to connect to the parts that were kind of missing.
Yeah.
Growing up.
But it's weird because when you do reconnect, you things in your life or like your traits or things that you do in life kind of makes sense. You're like, oh, that's why I'm like this or and that. So
picking up different traits from,
that's
you're like, oh, okay, that's from that side of the family.
Yeah. So it's cool to be able to like, just identify those things. And yeah, I guess like, I don't know, just my whole thing now is kind of like, because I know back when I was younger, I was kind of ashamed of, I didn't know too much about my Māori side. And even like when I moved from Central into Avondale Intermediate, like because I'm not fully brown, but I'm not fully white, people thought I was like Middle Eastern. So for me, it was like I felt I had to prove myself a lot. Like I was good at athletics and like I was quite a fast runner back in the days and that. And so I used athletics and sports to kind of like get my name out there. And then if that wasn't enough, I would try too much or like I don't know, just try fight on behalf of my friends or just do things that put me like, oh yeah, that guy's solid, he must be someone or whatever, you know what I mean? So like I was kind of, because I didn't speak Samoan like fully, when my grandmother was alive, she would speak to me in Samoan and I would just reply in English. So that was kind of like, yeah, I remember the first time, like the first week at school, people like didn't believe I was Samoan. I was like, oh man, because I live like with my grandmother was far Samoa, hard out, like. And then I had to take them home for them to like see like, oh.
You're like, look, I'm Samoan.
And she was speaking Sa to them and they couldn't even understand her language, like her Samoan.
Her version of it.
Like it was just like, like.
So there's levels to it.
Yeah, there was levels to it. And she spoke, she used to talk to me like that, but I could never, I just understood and I just reply in English kind of thing. Yeah. So that was kind of how I was raised in that. And so that's kind of my upbringing. I grew up on Holly Street in Avondale and went to Avondale Intermediate, Avondale College, and so Avondale's home for me for sure.
That's cool.
That's real mean. I think that's an important message in itself, like finding out where you're from and understanding those small things, and then also understanding the levels of where we are from.
And it's never ending. Like even now, like one of my aunties, she's got her 80th birthday. Sorry, I got the dries. She's got her 80th birthday this weekend, and she like called my mom and was like, oh, I need to tell Bronson's a few things that his grandmother left for him. But I was like, why didn't you just tell me when after she passed away when I was like 16 or 17? And then apparently she was waiting until I hit this like age where I'm like, I don't know, like old enough to kind of receive this kind of like sacred, I don't know, family history kind of thing. So yeah, next time I see her, we're gonna chop it up and that, have a mean ass telling off my auntie and that. But like, it's never ending. Like there's always things like when you think you know yourself, there's always new things you can learn and stuff. So yeah,
Always from the family, always the older ones. Eh?
yeah,
It's the island culture, eh? You think it's like you think you know, but you don't.
Yeah.
You know, they'll keep you in check, or they'll bring up something that you didn't even know about, or
even like, oh, see that guy, that's your cousin, and I'm like, are you just saying that? Like
everyone's your cousin, eh?
Yeah, it's like, but nah, cool.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so cool though. I'm glad that you're like proud of where you came from.
Yeah,
you know,
for
you
sure.
always rep 828 Avondale. Like, I think that's mean. Like, even in like your new album, I love your new album.
I appreciate
like,
it.
it's mean, and like how you just rep Avondale.
Yeah, for me, like as an artist, I'm like, fuck, am I just saying Avondale too much now? Because like it's like we get it, you're from Avondale, Spidertown.
I think it's good though.
Yeah, no, it is. Because even when I went to LA and like when I go overseas to Europe and that, like people ask me where I'm from, and I say Avondale. I'll say like my culture, but I'll say, oh, I'm from West Auckland, Avondale. Like then when they ask like, what is that? What's it about? I tell them about the community and stuff. So it's cool to be able to paint a picture of like where you're from, and especially when like people in Europe that listen to my music, when I go over there, they're like, what is like they already kind of have an idea of what Avondale's like through the music and stuff. So it's cool to be able to connect that with someone on the other side of the world. Is like pretty crazy.
Yeah,
definitely.
Little Avondale.
Yeah, because even like ripping where you're from, you know, because in the times we live in, there's always people like painting a different image of where we're from.
Oh,
you know,
facts.
You know, like saying like Avondale's this, or even saying
Third
like
world. Someone said it was third world.
Yeah,
something. I was like, hey, it was on the news too. Like,
really?
Yeah. 7 Sharp like emailed me on like, oh, can you come and stand up for Avondale, or like, can we ask you why it's a third world? And I was like, okay, but yeah, it was weird. I was like, the hell, but yeah,
it's still technically part of Central.
Yeah,
so
Central.
like,
We get the Central leader. Eh?
Yeah,
do we or Western leader? Oh, no, I'm sure we got the Western leader.
We've got the Central bins because my parents still live.
Yeah, the blue bins. Eh?
Yeah. So I was like, still technically part of.
We're Auckland City Council. We're not Waitakere.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was like, yeah, when people roll through Avondale, like I've got friends that are like, oh, you're from Avondale. And I'm like, I'm proud to be from Avondale.
Yeah.
I was like, my parents still live down the road. Like,
that's it.
It's where you grow up, and it's, you got to be proud of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's important to not shy away.
What school did you go to in?
I went to Liston.
That's right.
Yeah, and now I'm back there.
Teaching.
Oh, man, bro, that must be full circle.
Yeah, but I'm like you know, I rep where I'm from. Like,
there's
some people are shy to be saying, yeah, I'm from there.
Yeah, I don't get that, eh?
I don't, you know?
Yeah.
But
I think
it's that whole stigma around it. Yeah.
People are scared of what other people's opinions are. It's like, you know, some people could be like real shy about where they're from because of what other people think. But it's like, if you're proud of where you're from and you are who you are because of where you came from, because of your culture and your environment, it's like, be proud of that.
Yeah,
who cares?
And it's that tall poppy shit. Like, I know it comes up in every podcast or every like interview and that, but it's a real thing. Like, I didn't realize it was real until I started getting hate from our own people. Like, I was like, what the hell? Like, I see comments like, this guy's a sellout, this guy's not from the hood, like all this shit. And you're like, bro, what the fuck? Like, it's weird. Yeah. Even I was talking to Izzy, our stylebender, about it too. It's like, yeah, it's crazy.
He must get it heaps too.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Sorry.
I just focus on my own shit. Like, I feel that's the only way to go. Because I used to get triggered by comments all the time. Like,
would I?
This guy's a blah, blah, that, trash. Just see trash emojis. And you're like, you kind of it gets you down, or it gets me down when I used to see it. And then at the end of the day, that's just someone's opinion. And that's their insecurities being projected on my art form. And that's the whole thing about being an artist is like, when you're an artist, you have to deal with the vulnerabilities of being an artist. And that's like, you know, getting slack or getting like criticism from the media or whoever it is. And that's just part of the territory. So, yeah.
I love that, because I'm an artist myself.
Yeah, of course.
And I understand where you're coming from. But like, it's part of the game, you know?
That's
some people, I feel, just kind of hate to hate. And that's the issue. Like people out here kind of saying like, "Oh, you're trash," but it's like, what's trash about it, though?
Yeah. And it's all, and that's what I love about art. It's all perspective and it's all subjective. It's like someone might see something that I've done and find it really offensive, and that's because they might have a memory or something attached to what I'm talking about that really triggers them, but it's got nothing to do with me as a person, you know what I mean? So like it's subjective, I guess, and opinions. It's just opinions at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but sometimes people think that their opinion is
valid. Yeah.
You know, they're
real.
like, I don't like this, and it's like, yeah, but you also don't like the same colors that I like, but you don't have to voice that and push that.
The worst ones are when they're like explain a narrative in the comments and they think they know you as a person, and it's like, bro, I don't even know who that is.
You're like, I don't even follow you. I don't know anything about you.
And then someone sees that, and then they hit like someone I know will see it and be like, gee, did you see what this person said? I'm like, yeah, it doesn't even bother me, because a couple of years back, someone said some shit about me online, and he put eggplant emojis all over my face, like on a story or something, and like I ended up like, you know, going to his house, and anyway, that you can cut that out. But like, I ended up checking this person, and then when I got there, the energy wasn't. I was like, bro, it's like, gee, you talk shit about me on the fucking line. I'm right in front of your face. Like, come outside. And then, you know, it's different energy. So I guess like people think the internet is just like a playground for them to just say whatever they want, and it is. But it's like if you bark up the wrong tree, someone's gonna do something, or your karma's gonna come back to you somehow. So yeah, but that was just like a reminder for me not to get involved, like not to put my energy into something like that. Like
that's mean.
It'd be easy to get triggered though, hey?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, for real.
Like,
especially when you've had a few with the boys, and then
Sully,
especially when the boys are roasting you, Sully, look what this guy said. And like when it's the boys, it's like it triggers you more.
The whole vibe. Okay, let's go then. Let's go.
Yeah. But it's so like I don't even care. Like even if someone says something real bad, I would just be like, oh, whatever. Yeah.
But you learn from that though, right? You're like, okay, I don't want to put my energy into that again. So you're like,
I
okay,
don't get anything out of it, and it's stopping me from thriving and doing what I need to be doing. It's like I'm focused on like what that's one thing. Someone will like comment something. There'll be like, I don't know, 50 comments on a post or whatever. And then out of that 50, there might be one negative. And I'll always reply to the negative comment. Like, what the fuck? Or like, whatever. And it's just like, I had to look at that and be like, why am I so fixated on the one negative thing when there's so many positive things? And I guess it's like the outlook I need to have more in life as well. Just like,
Yeah, I think that's good though. Because everyone says that, that it's easy to look at something that's negative, right? Like you said, 99% of the comments, great, love your work, everything's good. And then you get like Karen that's like trash or whatever. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to clap back at this.
Yeah. So I was always that guy, like, drop the addy, DM the addy or whatever. Yeah.
We live in that time though, you know, like kids.
And you know the boys.
Yeah,
like,
man.
You know,
that's
what the boys will do too. Yeah. So it's like,
the boys are always keen. They're always down for a rumble.
Bro, always down.
And that's the hoods that we're from though. Like that's normal. You're just like, okay.
Yeah, and I think like, I don't know if I'm in the public eye now or whatever you want to call it, but like people see like the Carver Corner and they see like me doing community stuff, and automatically people from like the hood or whatever have a perception that I'm just gentle, nice guy, which I am. But they don't know like where I come from. Oh, well, they do, but they don't know me. So it's like they think they can just say things like that and get away with it, kind of thing. Whereas it's like, bro, if you know my boys, like this guy knows all the boys. You know all the boys. So it's like you know, we don't just like do nothing. So it's pretty funny when kind of people kind of try and test you on that kind of level. But now that it's like in an industry standard and I'm in a corporate setting now, I try and leave all that stuff like separate, unless it's really personal, but it doesn't get to that. Well, I hope it doesn't. But yeah, you know what I mean?
Like, we'll see. Yeah. But it's good that you're like, it sounds like you've obviously grown from showing up to someone's house who's put something up on the internet about you.
Yeah.
And not replying to, you know, the one Karen that's, you know, saying something negative. So I think that's good.
Yeah, it's growth. I guess it's growth. Like,
it's definitely
the 18,
growth.
19, 20-year-old me would just probably be locked up by now if someone said something like that. So it's definitely like growth, and just like my head isn't like where it used to be. It's like I want to do big things, and I'm not going to be able to accomplish that shit if I'm worried about what one person says, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
No, I love that, man.
Yo.
When you first started, you talked about working in the environment and like community and getting out there. Like, what was the first steps you took, like looking into that?
If I'm being honest, like, I didn't have like many qualifications, like leaving school and stuff like that. I was working like dead end jobs, like driving a forklift and like just working in different factories, just getting by kind of thing. Like I wasn't doing bad. It was just that I was just like, man, this is not my life kind of thing. You know what I mean? So like, at the time, my girlfriend at the time was working at Youthline, and she was like, there was like an opening for like a youth mentor to come and work in some kind of alternative education thing once a week. And so I started doing that, and then that was kind of cool because then there was like this job opening at this mental health art space where I work. I still have that same job right now. And then I had an interview with them and stuff, and like they gave me the job, and through there I kind of got into like more using music to engage with young people. And it wasn't like something that I wanted to do. I just kind of fell into it. And at the time I was getting paid for it. So I was like, oh, this is cool. And then later down the track, it started becoming really rewarding for me in terms of like seeing the impact that it has mentoring these young people and stuff like that. So that was kind of like something that I just kind of grew a passion for. And I was like, yo, this is cool. And currently now there's a trust called Tikaranga Trust. Rizvan runs it with church from Church and AP, and that was like the program that me and Will started, but now I've just come back and facilitating a couple nights a week just while I've got time. So yeah, it's been cool. It's been a cool journey being able to come back, and nothing's changed, but so much has changed in terms of the evolution of like the facilities, the resources and that. So yeah, it's been a vibe.
No, that's me, man. I think there's an important message in there itself. Like, you know, like you said, like you're just trying to get by, but then you understood your potential as well, like what you can do, and just kind of, because obviously you're in your uncomfort zone, you know.
That's it.
You know, that's all part of growth, eh?
Yeah. And it's funny because like, you know, like everyone, not just me, like all of us right here in this room, like when we're younger, we already see our vision and we already know what we're capable of or where we want to be, but everyone around you doesn't see that. And for me, that was the hardest thing. It was like, man, because I used to pull out to work a bit late sometimes because I would like, I don't know, I was just young and I would drink during the week and go to gigs. Like when I had my first gigs, I would like go to like out south at pubs and just play in front of like nobody or whatever. But I would come to work late, and I just remember like they knew that I did music, and they like didn't have that belief in me. Like they were just like, oh, this guy wants to be a rapper. Ha 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 ha. How's that little music thing? They would always say that to me. And I was just like, bro, you wait, kind of thing. That's what I was thinking. Like, bro, you don't see it now, but when I do get my shit together, like, yeah. And so I guess like now I'm kind of reaping those rewards slowly, like through my accomplishments and what I'm trying to get achieved in that. Yeah.
That's cool. It sounds like that gave you the push.
Yeah, for sure.
Know?
Just like how you hear those stories about teachers at school and that. Yeah. But no, it definitely gave me some motivation. Like, I want to show this guy. But I didn't do it because of that. It was
not in a petty way.
Yeah,
you weren't
kind of a little bit, but I was like, yeah.
I think that's good. You turned a negative to a positive.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you were like, you know, you could have been like, oh yeah, maybe I'm not going to be a big rapper, or I'm not going to be.
Well, there were times where I was like, it got to a point where I just started out and I left my job and I was doing other shit to get me paid and whatnot, whatever. But then I was like going hard at the music, but nothing was happening around me. And I was like, man. And then I was thinking like, bro, I should just go get an apprenticeship. Like I was having second thoughts and stuff. And like I was staying at home with my mom's and I wasn't bringing much money in, like that kind of thing. And I felt like a burden to my family. And like I was, you know, every now and then I'll get arrested and spending nights in the cells and shit. So I felt a little bit like a letdown to my family and stuff, but I kind of just, I don't know, I just stuck to it because it wasn't a plan B. And I was just like, nah, I got to somehow turn this into something. So yeah.
You just kept pushing through despite all the setbacks.
And that's just, I was just like, wow, if I can do that, like I'm not the most smartest person or like the most driven person. And I was like, if I could do that, then anyone can, like even all these young people that I kind of mentor and stuff, it's like, man, there's so much potential. Like everyone's got it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The fact that you just kept pushing, I think, is good.
Yeah,
Right
yeah,
out.
for real.
Right out. And just blocking out that noise, you know.
That's it.
Because like, yeah, I had that same feeling like growing up and telling people when they ask like, "What are you doing?" You're like, "I'm studying art."
Yeah, especially being from a Pacific background and then doing art as a thing.
Yeah.
And it would just be like art, and just kind of go quiet and kind of have that laugh. And it's like I had that same thing, you know. Like, bro, you wait, bro. I want to show you, you know.
But it's buzzy. That's what I don't get about the stigmas. Like, you could be like, "Oh, where do you work?" And you could say like, name a factory or like a warehouse or something, and you're like, "Oh yeah, sweet." But if you're like, "Oh, I'm studying this," and just because you're
doing something different,
even if it's like not better, but even if it's like alternative, it's just like,
yeah.
But I find as I get older, it's the people that aren't actually following their dreams or doing something that they enjoy, 100%. That they don't actually know how to support someone that is doing that.
Yeah. That's exactly facts. Yeah.
Because I'm realizing that as I get older, as I try to do different things, people around me are kind of like, why are you doing that? Why you got your 9 to 5 and you're doing this and you're doing baking, you know? And I'm like, because I like it and I enjoy it and it makes me happy. And then they're just like, yeah, but you should just do one thing.
That's it.
And I'm like, yeah, but you're doing one thing and you're at a certain age and you, no offense, you don't seem happy, but you know?
Yeah.
And it's just people aren't achieving their dreams, so they can't support you achieving yours because they haven't done it for themselves. So I think that's an important message for people to understand if they're going through like this break of trying to do something different outside of like what Pacific Islanders are doing, you know?
Yeah, that's facts.
And people from our hoods, what they're doing. Yeah. If you're trying to do something different and no one around you is like supporting you, just be like, they're actually not supporting their dreams. So just show them by your actions, keep going, that, you know, you can be happy and achieve your dreams. You just got to push through it.
Yeah, because that's what I realized. It's like people that like, unless it's like a personal beef that you have with someone, like people that are as successful as you or more successful as you, they never hate. Like you don't see like someone really, really successful being like, man, stuff this guy. It's always someone that's not doing much.
Yeah.
So
they've got time to hate is what I've realized as well as I got older. Is that I don't have time to hate on people. Like, you know, we're busy, like all of us. And that's all we ever talk about, eh? We get to how busy we are, but we're never like, oh, I hate this person, or this person's doing something different. I hate that. Like, it's never that conversation. We're just like grinding ourselves and just happy for other people that are doing the same.
Definitely. And it's also like one thing I learned from the hate is that I get you don't understand what I'm doing, but like at least respect it, you know?
Exactly, because they don't understand. And that's the thing, they disrespect things they don't understand. And I feel like that's a big thing as well. It's like, I don't know what that is. I don't understand it, so I'm not gonna like it.
Yeah, that's the instant thing is negative, right? They're not like, you can either support it or like, this is what I said to people, you can either support it or shut up.
Yeah,
and people, I'm like, those should be your only two options.
Yeah.
But they put in a third where they can hate. I was like, that takes so much more energy if you just shut up. Like,
like we don't have to like people, but we don't have to like hate on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's some people that like are in the industry that like for whatever reason I just don't really vibe with, and I'm like, oh, I don't really like that person, but I'm not gonna go talk shit about them
and be like, I hate them.
Yeah, I'm just gonna like do my own thing and just focus on me rather than hating, you know what I mean? And I feel like people that don't like people, some of them would just talk shit. Yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't make sense, eh?
Yeah, and it's just kind of like I'm gonna say that I hate them so I can stay relevant.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
and it's just like, bro, now you're relevant and you're ugly. You know?
Yeah.
You know,
for real, clout. Nah.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah, but that's the world we live in, though. Like, there's always someone trying to hammer someone down, and it always falls back to that. Like, they're trying to succeed by hating on someone and creating that whole stigma about like, he's not that guy. I'll tell you now, he's not that guy. But then it's like, bro, you're not that guy. You know?
Yeah.
But no, that's mean that you fought through it and understood yourself, because the noise can put you off your game,
Yeah, for real, man. Especially when like you hear things and you're like, oh, I thought I was doing good, or like whatever, and it gets to you, that's when it's like, but yeah, I just kind of was like, I should just focus on what I want to focus on, like what I believe is the only thing that I should believe, kind of thing, rather than hearing what someone said about you. They didn't even know you, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I think that's important. Like what you just said, they don't even know you.
yeah.
Like the ones that hate the most, like especially when you're talking about like, you get 50 good comments and then there's that one.
That's it.
That person doesn't even know you. And that person that you pulled up to their house after they did that thing, you're kind of like, they don't even know you.
It's like we've never even met in real life. And it's like, I guarantee 9 times out of 10, if you met that person in real life, their energy would not be like that. Yeah. Unless they're like, just straight serial killer buzz and just want to like, whatever. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's like pretty weird people out there, especially with the internet. And I think a lot of it is like, also their like childhood trauma comes through like as adults. It comes through in real ugly ways as well. If people don't deal with that and stuff. And I feel like that's like a lot of mental health now is just like stuff that hasn't been, I don't know, like sorted out as youngins and things like that.
But that's true though. Like if you don't deal with trauma that you've been through, not even just when you were a kid, like as you get older and you go through things, if you don't deal with it properly, then you're gonna crap on everyone. You know? Yeah. Like all that internal battle that you're going through is gonna come out in some way, and that comes out in hate and hating on other people's.
Definitely contradicts your persona, and it kind of reflects on you. But that's just how we live now, eh? There's always someone out there.
Because I just came back from like a training, like a mental health training, and one of the statistics were that I think 75% of people with mental illness, 75% of mental illness comes from childhood. So like, 75% of mental illness comes from childhood. So like, you think about like what events happen in somebody's life when they're a kid, and then obviously like there's not that resource of having therapy, or there's that, like coming from some families, like if something bad happens, you don't talk about it kind of thing, and just holding that in over time. It has to come out somehow, and sometimes it messes with your chemicals in your brain and the way you think and things like that, and then you project that on others, and that's how you see the crime rate going up and suicide and all that kind of bad stuff happening. So yeah, that was one statistic that I learned about today. It's pretty crazy.
Damn, I just learned that now too.
Yeah, something every day. That's
and there's a new study that your brain doesn't fully develop until you're from 25 to your early 30s, and I think the old study was like from 20 to 25, which is pretty interesting.
Oh, damn.
I learned that today too.
So it's pushed back an extra 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, and also your IQ drops 50% when you're under stress, like real, like in kind of panic mode, like, and it kind of makes sense because when you're under like something, you're like, oh, what I gotta do this, and your thinking just closes and it focuses on one thing, which is kind of makes sense. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because you don't make the best decisions when you're stressed.
Yep.
Exactly.
So that obviously it's a statistic, so it's facts, so it does make sense. But it's like trippy understanding that though, because man, mental health is such a fascinating subject for me, man. Like, and knowing that people's trauma, like 75%, damn, that is heavy.
That's heavy, right?
Was that just in New Zealand or was that world?
I took a photo of it. I think that's like a world statistic. It could be Australasian, but I'll double check and let you guys know after. But yeah.
Damn. But that's heavy.
Yeah, that's kind of shook me, like especially being a high school teacher.
Yeah.
And seeing some of the kids are like now just kind of understanding that, and just, man, hopefully I can get across to them at a younger age.
Yeah. And even some of the kids that are kind of like, oh man, I've got like, some of them think they're stupid because they failed a test, or like they look at their teenage years or their selves like, oh man, why couldn't I answer that? Why am I doing this? And then it's like, well, if you're going through all that stress at home and your IQ's like the way you're like 50% of your IQ's dropping while you're under all that trauma and pressure, and then you come to school and you're trying to focus on a test or like education, and then you fail, and then you're questioning your brain like, why am I dumb? And it's got nothing to do with your intelligence. It's like, 1, your hormones are going crazy. 2, your brain's still developing. And 3, your whole background or your like
foundation,
your foundation at home is like unsettled.
It's broken. So
yeah, it's broken. So when you're pulling out to school, it's not like you don't get the privilege of like having a cooked meal or whatever. Like the kid next to you might have when they pass their test, and they're looking at you like, you didn't get it. You know, you just never know anyone's situation. So. That's another thing I learned from that thing today.
Yeah.
So good.
No, that's mean. That's a
like,
good thing to know.
Yeah.
You know,
God.
that's a really good thing to know.
Because as tutors, like that's what they were trying to, I guess, tell us. And I guess you're a high school teacher, so you know what's up. Like, yeah.
That's actually a really good thing to know.
That's like hella fascinating, though.
It can change a lot of people's perspectives as well. On how to view people. You know,
because you might be like, man, I've explained this like 3 different angles and perspectives and they still don't get it. But it's just like, well, if they're under pressure at home, what's going to make them perform like in the classroom? Kind of
like, what's their background, eh?
Yeah.
That's what matters the most.
Because, you know, you can't assume that every kid has a great home life.
Yeah.
And that is well fed with the right food to feed their brain and things like that. And it's just.
And I always try to say that to staff, like, to teach them, you got to understand them. You know, because like it goes a long way. Because they always say it to me too, like, bro, that boy does work in your class. He'll do work in your class, but you're so worried about the kid, you should think about your approach.
And that's one thing you can't teach is empathy. You know, like
empathy is so important.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has to have it if they're going to be in that kind of industry. Is like understand them as a person before you try and like get them to understand the work and that.
No, I like that, you know, because you've just kind of opened this whole thing, like a lot, like how you said before, people just look at you like you're just a rapper.
Yeah,
but you're out here using your own time trying to understand more about our lives, really.
Yeah, the community, mental health, that's huge.
Well, like music is like something that we do. Like I perform and like festivals are cool, and that's what people see is like.
That's your passion.
Yeah, people see you performing in front of festivals, taking photos, like all that kind of cliche stuff that they think a rapper is, but it's actually world building. Like if you think about like when I travel, I get to see different cultures, see how they live. When I went, not my last tour, but my other tour, when I went to Australia, I went to a penitentiary for youth, like, and it was real interesting to see like Aborigine people in there and like the islanders, and I thought they'd all be together, but like when
Were they not?
Nah.
What?
Oh, sorry. The Aboriginals were all good with the islanders, but then the Sudanese and the Somalians and the Ethiopians like hated the islanders. So when I went into the classroom with them, they just automatically like hated me for no reason.
Like, this dude's an islander, we don't like him.
Yeah, and I was like, what's the buzz? So I didn't realize it was like that.
Yep.
But like, man, there's so much broken like generational trauma. You can just see it, like especially in Australia and all the First Nation people. Is like, man, they don't even get that much help from like government and stuff.
Oh, really?
Not as much as Māori. Like we've got like a lot of like things that kind of help us. I know it's not enough, and I know we're still colonized, but over there it's just like, damn, it's way worse. Yeah.
And what did you do in the penitentiary there for the youth?
I just did like, I was supposed to do, I only ended up doing a couple activities, but I did like just writing activities and just warm-ups and stuff, like, and just talking about my writing process and stuff. And I showed them like some of the music videos out here and that. They were more interested in like the music videos and stuff.
Visual things.
Yeah, visual things.
But that's cool that you did that. It's good to hear that you're doing other things, like Josh said, like that's outside of your rapping, which is your passion. You're doing more for the community. You're learning about mental health so that you can actually help people, which is more than you need to be doing, but you do it because you want to. And I think that's
it's
awesome.
Just like I don't know, it's like if you can help, wouldn't you want to help? You know what I mean? And
exactly, even
even if you can't help, just even hearing someone's story can do wonders. Like crazy. Like, I was talking to the lady. She was like a psychotherapist. She was the one that was giving us this class today, and she was saying like that like you'll always remember the good teachers and from school, and you're like the bad ones, you're just, every time you think of them, you'll be like, oh, what the fuck kind of thing. Like, and you'll always remember like good things that someone has done for you or said, like, and that really hit me because the beginning of the year, this girl that I used to kind of mentor when she was in alternative education, like, I didn't even know what I said to her. Like, I could tell she had some stuff going on at home at the time. This would have been like 5-6 years ago. But like, I said something to her that she messaged me like this year and was like, oh, I'll always remember this one thing that you told me, and that's kind of gotten me through all these hard times. And I was like, I don't even know what it was.
You're like, what did I say?
But it doesn't even matter what I said. The fact that you can show up for someone or just let them know that I see you. Like, I feel that does so many wonders. Like, I'm not even an educated like art therapist or whatever, but if you're present with someone and let them know, like, I see you, I hear you, that can, like, just for them to be acknowledged like that, I think people like really find that like special, I think.
Yeah. And like the 3 things people want is to be seen, heard, and understood. Right. And to get those 3 things, you have to give people time and energy. You have to like put your phone down. You have to actually be present. And like you said with that girl, you knew that, you know, she was possibly going through some things. You know, her foundation possibly at home wasn't very good or something. But you were like, yo, I'm here. And you gave her the time of day.
She didn't even tell me what I said, but she was like, oh, just the fact you told me this was just like, oh, it just switched her whole mood up. And I was like, wow. And like, we go off and just live our life and we just think like whatever. And I had never known, like, all these years she's held on to one little thing that I said to her. And I was just like, man, the power of words and the power of just being present with someone is pretty like powerful.
Yeah. A lot of people mistaken that the smallest things can count the most. You know, like just saying like, "Hey, how are you?" goes a long way, man.
We've talked about that before, right? Just
out.
Even greeting people, because a lot of people are just they don't. Cool. We've talked about that heaps. Like how people like you'd be like, "Yo, what's up?" and some people just like snob you, and then you're like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah, even like when you're like, I don't know, at a grocery store and you lock eyes with someone and you're like, "Hey," and they're like looking at you like weird.
They look at you like you're weird for being nice.
Yeah, it's like that's our society we live in these days is like, it's pretty buzzy. And then I could walk past like a homeless guy and just like, man, I love talking to like homeless people and like even at the lights when they're asking for coins. And I remember one time I got annoyed because like, bro, I gave you $5 last week. Like, bro, this $5 is gonna last the next 2 weeks. Like, but like just the stories and like everyone's got hearts and everyone's got emotions, you know. And sometimes we forget, like, we might just drive past someone and be like, oh, they're just a homeless person. But they've got a story too. So I was like,
yeah. Definitely got a story. Some of them are real wise, you know?
Yeah. And I was like, what? There was this other guy, this was ages ago. He used to be at the Mount Albert Shops where next to Barbecue Noodle House.
Oh, yo.
And I was waiting for my feed and he was like, oh, got any coins? And whatever. I ended up sitting down with him and he was like telling me he owned like yachts and he was like a millionaire. And then like he broke up with his wife and then she didn't let him see his kids, like all this stuff. And I was like, bro, now you're on the streets. Like, and he's like, yeah, I chose to be on the streets. And I was like, if I would have never known this story if like I just
you didn't give him the time.
Yeah, I just thought you were just like a junkie or something, you know. So I guess that's just us judging. But
I think that's important though as well, because from our communities, that's something that people don't talk about as well, all the homeless people, right? They're like, oh, the homeless people, oh, they're so annoying and they're everywhere. Or they're like, oh, those window washer people. And I'm like, yeah, but why are they doing that though? Have you took a step back to be like, hey, that's someone's brother or that's someone's sister that's doing that or someone's kid or auntie or uncle or parent. It's like, we don't know the story behind that. And like you gave a powerful message of like you actually sat down with them and were like, yo, let's have a chat.
That's why I found it funny when police started giving out fines to window washers and then they used them to catch speeders. Like, what are you up to?
That's weird, man. That energy's off, Like what?
That was so
I wonder what constable would have been in them. Like, all right, guys, I got this genius idea. We're gonna come together and. That's buzzy.
But to kind of like paint an image on these people, then to use that image to catch people, like, bro, you're a hypocrite, you know?
Yeah, that's toxic, man. Like, even like authority, like growing up, and like I used to get, because I got into a bit of trouble when I was younger, not like hard out like trouble, but like I spent a few nights in the cells every now and then, and I had a real big problem with police at the time, just because one time when I got arrested, they like, I was kind of, I bring it onto myself. Like I was drunk and I was handcuffed, and I like try to spit in one of the cops' faces, and I said like fuck you and all this stuff. And then they rushed me to the cell and they just bashed me until I was almost unconscious. Like, and I was handcuffed too, and it wasn't this lady cop was the one that was like, that's enough, he's only young, leave him alone. Like I could just hear it. Like she was like, and in my eyes she was like an angel. Like, who is this lady stopping these guys bashing me? And then but like ever since then, it was I think it's trauma, you know. Like every time I saw a cop, I was just like automatically put my head down, or like not want to talk to them. I don't care if they come from a good family, if they're good people, I just don't fuck with them. Like that's how I was growing up as like a teenager. And now that I'm an adult going into schools and talking, like telling my story or whatever, talking to young people and stuff, and there's always constables at the back, and I'm like, I was like, oh, what the hell? Like I still had that kind of, what is it, like that trauma of like that trigger that was just like, nah, fuck that person, you know. Like I always instantly had this thing against police, authority, whatever. And it's only like recently, the last, I would say even 3 years, 4 years, that you know, I see police around and they're like, hey Melo, and I'm like, hey, what's up? Like it's real buzzy for me.
It's switched.
Yeah, to come from where I come from, to be like, oh, that guy's actually all good, you know. And I'm not saying that I love police, but at the end of the day, everyone's human, and there's good police, there's bad police, or whatever. So it's just like, but yeah, that's one thing I think, coming from where we come from, like you learn to like, you have to adjust to different environments and grow as a person. Yep. So yeah, that's that. I think that was part of my growth, is being like, I remember I did this youth speech thing last year, and there was a whole line of cops, and the cop went before me, and he was like telling how he used to like go around and bash like some of the kids in Mount Ruskell so they would learn their lesson. And I was just like, what the hell? Like he told this intense story, but at the end of the day, he told his intention why, which kind of makes sense, but I still disagreed a little bit. Yeah. And then straight after his speech, they're like, oh, Melodownz. And I stood up, and all the cops were just looking at me, and I was like, oh no, don't tell any of this stuff. But I just told it, no filter, like everything. And then at the end, he came up to me and shook my hand and was like, oh man, thanks for telling your story and stuff. It's cool to get. And I was just like, oh yo, sweet. But yeah, it's still a bit of a weird one, but I'm growing through it. Yeah.
It definitely sounds like you're growing.
Yeah.
Because like when you're like some of the cops are like, yo Melo, and you could be like, stuff you, but you're just like, oh yo.
And then that's when you figure, like you realize, oh, these guys are just doing their job. They listen to, like, some of them listen to my music, and some of my songs I'm like, the police or whatever, and I'm like, wow, that's buzzy. Like it's real buzzy for them to like see me in a different light now. And I think that's what's changed, is like they've like, they see me in a different light. And at the same time, I'm like, man, if I was out to my old ways, you would not be saying what up to me, kind of thing. But that's one thing I learned about this music shit, this entertainment thing, is like back when I was starting out, you know, like these certain people that now when they see me, they're like, yo Melo, come chill with us, come drink on this corner or whatever. Like they would have never given me a second look. And I used to get salty about that, like, oh, now this guy wants to be in my DMs, or now this girl wants to be hitting me up or whatever. Like it's something that just comes with the territory. It's pretty funny though.
Yeah, because I in a couple of your songs, you were talking about how some girls wouldn't like. Like I was like, I wonder if you're gonna spill the tea. Did they go to Avondale? But
yeah, they did. Oh, some of them did. Like
because you said like specifically in a couple of the songs that like these girls that wouldn't rock with you before, you're like, now you're somebody, and then they're like, oh yo, what's up? And you're like, hey,
that's crack up. Like,
and I was like, that's such
like, I won't say any names, but
thing.
like I remember these shorties from Avondale and even other schools like Mags and stuff. And like I used to have a crush on one of them. And like I was like trying it on like back when I was in high school, and like, you know, just nothing, like probably because I had no game and I was like too hanging off all the naughty kids back then or whatever. But and now like I remember I had a show, and it was like a sold out show, and there was like a line outside, and I like walked past to go to the back, and then they were like, oh Bronson, like saying my name, like, oh, remember we went to school together. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, because obviously we didn't even know each other. Like, I didn't even know her like that kind of thing. And yeah, it was weird for to see that stuff, like, and to see people that you saw back in high school, like they knew you and stuff, but they wouldn't stop and be like, hey, what's up? Now they're like at your shows or
pretending they know you.
Yeah, messaging like, oh, yo, that's so cool, blah blah. Like, yeah, it's pretty buzzy.
Yeah. Bro, that's like one of the funniest things these days, you know, like some people, like, what I've always said is like there's a difference about saying you know someone and knowing of someone.
Yeah,
you know?
Hard.
And I think a lot of people don't get that. Like they're always like, I know him,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
of me. You know,
That's
like
it,
there's a
that's
difference,
it,
you know?
Even anywhere, like probably you get it. You probably get it through art and stuff. Like, oh yeah, we went to school together. Like, oh really?
You're like, and how many people were at that school?
Yeah, hard.
It's the ones that's like, surely you remember me out of 3,000 people, but
yeah.
nah, that's crack up. I like how you touch based on the police, because I feel like a lot of people in our time, our generations that are coming through, they need to understand the part of letting go, like to grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you understanding and kind of in a way forgiving that what happened
Yeah.
helped you grow in a way?
Bro, facts, man. Like, I let go of all that. Like, and so like when I see cops, I don't. If I see a cop behind me, I'm still like, even though there's nothing on me or like I'm legit, I still have that kind of like, oh, are these guys following me kind of thing. I think it's just automatic. But in terms of growing and like, if I see a police officer now, I wouldn't even like be like, oh, I better go here or like check my pockets or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not like that anymore. So I think that's growth.
Yeah.
But just after seeing like the parades and then seeing, do you see that cop that like all that stuff? It brings back that like that feeling of hate again.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, like the brutality overseas and stuff still gets to me every now and then. Yeah. But I disassociate my experience with the cops. So although it's the same thing, because it's just still like a reminder, like even though there are good cops, there's still those bad ones too. Yeah.
I saw that video.
I think everyone did. Like when I saw that, I was like,
and it was like he looked like an islander as well. Yeah.
I think the saddest part about that video is that kid's doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
That's the saddest thing ever. Like he's just, you know, like
even
it
might have been out of context. Like maybe they cut out he might have been resisting at the first, but I like, even if there's 4 cops on you, there's no need to like be thrown.
Go handy, man. That was so
even if he
sad.
did something wrong, there's no that doesn't.
Or against one with
his
hands behind his back. I'm like,
that wasn't just a jab. That was a haymaker. You know?
That was like, I don't really want to put your lights on, and he missed too. So I was like, bro, nah,
bro, that
caked it.
Nah, definitely caked it.
I said, bro, if you're gonna throw a haymaker like that, make sure you land it also.
Nah, I love that. Do you feel like with your, like how you've learned about mental illness and a lot of things, do you think with what you're doing as well, like music, do you feel that it could reach a lot of people and like create that conversation? Because like I learned something from you today, which is kind of like opened my whole sight, and I'm sure Raquel learned it too. Like that's a whole new conversation. You know?
It is, man. Every day we keep on learning, but for the most part, like you know, art and how it's subjective is like a song that I make about what I'm going through is my therapy, and then that's the beauty of art is like I'll release it, and then someone else will grab it and listen to it, and then whatever they're going through, they can relate to that. And for me, that's like the most powerful thing. I feel like, you know, I feel everyone's here for a purpose, and God's given us different kind of gifts to be able to like do whatever, like, you know, to live out that purpose or intention. And I feel when like, you know, I get small messages like that, or see how much like some of these kids mess with my music. And it's not like I'm a massive artist or anything, but just even touching lives is kind of like, fuck, that's crazy to me. Like I literally wrote a lot of these songs, or not these ones, but like my old songs, like in my mom's bedroom, my mom's house in my bedroom. Like, hey. No, but like I literally, you know, made these songs in my mama's house in my old bedroom, like. And for people from like Germany and I don't know, wherever, messaging me being like, yo, that's a mean song, or talking about, oh, when I come to New Zealand, I want to come to Avondale. Like that's just blows my mind.
Put Avondale on the map.
Yeah, it's crazy to know like that people actually like are listening to the music and stuff like that. And it doesn't even have to be a big like portion of people. Like the fact that, you know, people just listen to it is pretty crazy.
Yeah, you're impacting people's lives in a positive way.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're going actually deeper than just your music, talking about mental illness. What made you want to get into that kind of thing?
Like, yeah, that's the thing.
In the background.
Yeah, I didn't really want to even get into it. It just kind of happened. Like I said before, like I just ended up going to this job interview because I was like broke at the time, and it was an opportunity to get my foot in the door of this new kind of like industry or whatever.
Something different.
Yeah, and at the time, like they were like, "Can we see your CV?" And I had no qualifications. Like everyone that I work with there has either done like art therapy or like some paper and other things like that. And I was just like, shit, this is quite intimidating. But I just kind of told them my background, and like I think they could gauge the energy, like, oh, this guy seems like a chill dude or whatever. And so like they just gave me opportunity, and like I've been there ever since. And like the members still come every week, and I've been there for like 6 or 7 years now. Man, since I was like my early 20s. But it's cool because they found like comfort in me being there, and I'm the same. Like if I go on tour and stuff and then I come back home, like it's different because when you're on tour, people expect to see you. Yep. And when they see you like that, they glorify you, and in a way, like
put you on a pedestal.
Yeah, like when I went to Sydney, people that came to my show obviously look at me in a different light to me sitting at a bus stop over there where people walk past me because they're there to see me, kind of thing. And so when you're around that a lot, you kind of like, you can get lost in that, you know, like, and then you're like people giving you free stuff, like, oh bro, here's a new hoodie, oh Nike sending you these, Puma sending me all this or whatever. Yep. It kind of does get to your head, like it does, like it got to my head, not got to my head, but like I was like, yeah, mean, and you expect things like when I'm in a different city, someone will just be like, yo, here, I got you this, yo, Melo, blah, blah. And so when I come back to New Zealand, back to my normal life, and then I go to my mum's house and I'm like, I might say something like, oh, mom, pasta. She's like, get it yourself. Like things like that.
Brings you back to earth.
Yeah. And so for me to experience all that stuff and then come back home and then go to this class where everyone doesn't even care who you are. Like, and they're like, hey, you're back. Cool, bro. Like, blah, blah. And they're just their usual selves. It really grounds me. Like, and that's one thing I love about this line of work is you're not only helping people, but you're helping yourself.
Yep.
It's weird. It's like they're helping you and you're helping them. So it's kind of like,
I think that's the best kind of work.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, where you know that you're actually making a difference in their lives and vice versa.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's cool because at the end of the day, you can go home and at least say to yourself, you know, at least I contributed some positivity into this person's life, even if it was for one day in their whole life or one day in a week or whatever. Yeah. That's to me is success. It's pretty cool to know that.
I like how you talk about keeping you grounded as well.
Yeah.
Because that is a big thing that gets a lot of people. Like the noise can get to your head.
Yeah, for real.
And then when you lose control of it,
oh man, and it's crazy because I'm just like I'm not like a massive artist or anything. Like I think about like other like Stylebender or like other people on the world stage. It's just like, damn, how do they? It must be like here and here. Like you have to have a strong heart and mind to be able to navigate all that stuff.
And have a good foundation back home.
That's it. Yeah.
You know, I think that's...
Well, that's it. I think that
you know, for both you boys.
Yeah.
For Izzy and you, like you come back home and you always know that this is where you're from. These are your hoods.
Yeah.
And you still rock with the same people.
Yeah,
you know?
for real.
I think if you rock with the same people, no matter how big you get, they will ground you. Especially, man, they're moms though. Moms will always. If you ever think of something, go back home to your mom, and especially if your mom's Islander.
They'll check you. They'll check you at the door.
Yeah, they will. You will get checked in the driveway, like before you get into the house.
It's
like
funny. They just smell the bullshit from a mile away. It's like, why are you acting? Why are you talking like that?
Yeah, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
But that's the cool thing about moms, though, eh? And your foundation is that. As long as that's solid, then you know, no matter what happens, all the noise and stuff.
That's it.
You come back home and you're like, okay, sweet. I'm Bronson.
Is that because what, like, is that what you guys experience too with like your art and stuff? Because with your art, like what do you want to do with it in terms of like, obviously we create because we create, but like there's so much different like options for artists to do.
Yeah. For me personally, I want people to understand that because my art, like I went from being hard out realistic to doing like abstract and all this other stuff, and then just kind of loving art for you. Like everything around us is art, and just help use it to kind of feel free. Because you shouldn't. Cause everyone's like, we're in a time where everyone's like, you gotta be a mean drawer, you gotta be a mean painter. Nah, just pick up the paintbrush and paint.
And it's funny when they like they see you during
no rules.
They see you drawing the Dragon Ball Z characters in school or whatever, and then they expect you to be drawing like characters like that, and then when they see you like splashing paint on a canvas and doing all this weird abstract stuff that they don't understand, it's like, bro, you're going different.
Yeah.
But it's like, now I'm growing, you know, like.
And you're doing your own thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing that people are so used to seeing people do the same thing.
Yep.
And that's the norm. And if you do anything outside the norm, then they're like,
hey. Is like baking, is that your passion?
I love baking.
Yeah.
You're mean at it.
You can I can taste the aroha, and I was like, wow, this is mean.
No, yeah, I love it. Like, the thing is, I've been baking for years for my family. Like, the stuff that I give to everyone, like, and that we sell is stuff that I've been baking for years.
Damn.
So it's like stuff that I've like perfected, but I know that I love making it and I love seeing my family have it too.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, even my nephew, like when I go to see him, like I've got heaps of nieces and nephews, he's like, where's my cupcake? That's his thing, and it makes him so happy. And it's just the fact that I love seeing people smile while they have my baking, just for that moment in time.
Yeah.
Like, I can contribute to happiness in someone's life for just a moment.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Well, that's what happened when I went to Lucky G's. I was waiting for my food, and then I saw like that glass thing and it's got your cookies there.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, can I grab one of these cookies? And then the bro's like, yeah. And so I bought a couple of cookies, and then I went in the car, and then like I was like looking at the food, and I was like, oh, I should have the food before I have the. But then I was like, oh no, I'll just have a bite. And I had one little bite, and it was so soft, and like I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, and then I went back, and I was like, yo, where did I get these from? And then that's when he was like, oh, yo, it's Raquel, and that's when like
Yeah, Stan was like, oh, did Melo message you? And I was like, oh, no. I was like, I'll just hit him up and I'll give him some boxes.
Yeah. I was like honestly like buzzing out when you messaged. I was like, oh my God, like,
like I love people, like I love being in the kitchen. Like, it's an island thing, right?
Yeah.
The moms and the aunties and the sisters are in the kitchen, and I love that.
Are you what? That's you?
Nguyen.
Nguyen, yeah.
My mom's Nguyen and my dad's Kiwi.
Oh, cool.
So, but yeah, it's like being in the kitchen is like it for me, man. Like, if I could
it's an art too.
Yeah, and like if I could ever open up a shop or a cafe or something, man.
Yeah.
When thank you. When, like, I think that would be mean. Like, I just love making people happy through food, because it's like,
that's it.
That's like the culture, and that's like what I love about. And all islands are the same, you know.
It was funny because that box he gave me, because my cousin's on a diet. I do know my cousin Matt. I love him anyway. You probably met him a couple of times. Guess I don't know if you met Guess, but anyway, he's on this diet, and then I came home and I was like, gee, try a cookie, and he's like, nah, and then because I put it on a plate and I glad wrapped it, and then I took off the glad wrap, and he was like looking at it. I was like, bro, please just have one for me, like. And it's like, nah, gee, I'm on a diet, blah blah. And then I was like, oh, just have one. And then I gave him like, he's like, oh, just have a little bite. And then he had one bite, and then he was like looking at it like, bro, this is mean. And then he had the whole thing, and then he had the whole thing while I was gone. And I came back, and he's like, gee, that was the best cookie I've ever had in my life. And I was like,
yeah.
They're
yum, bro.
They're on.
I had a cupcake C at our spot, and I was just like, it's insane, you know, like
that's dangerous. Because man, even the brownie, I was just like, shit, this is good.
Man, I appreciate it. Like, I honestly, like, I love it. I love what I do, just like you love what you do, and you too. So it's like, you can tell someone's passion is when they talk about it, and then they see people's reactions, and it just
that's crazy.
It is.
That there's definitely something in those cookies like that's on. Like I never, that's probably my favorite that I've ever tried.
Yeah, some cookies, they hurt.
It's the dough, it's like so soft.
Yeah, it's like, the thing is, because I've been making it for years for my family, I just know that the cookies, you do kind of want it a little bit soft and not too.
That's it. Yeah.
Not too hard.
Yeah.
Is it a secret to get it like that, or was it timing?
It's timing, and the butter has to be like a certain temperature. Otherwise it'll go flat.
Yeah.
And you don't want it to like overcook where it's too hard. Like,
That's kind of like making hollandaise. Like I always get it and then it goes like too liquidy kind of thing.
Yeah, it's the one thing that you've got to perfect over time, just like anything. But yeah,
you got those on lock. Like,
definitely. They're good.
But yeah, that's my art and I love it. So see where that goes.
Is it just you or do you?
Me and Jocelyn. So one of my friends, Jocelyn, we just started.
Did she go Avondale too?
Yeah, she's from Avondale, but I don't know if she actually went to our college.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we just started it randomly last year. We were on a bushwalk and she's like, I said to her, because she bakes too, and I was like, oh, would you ever sell your baking? Because I've always wanted to sell mine, but I was like, I don't know if I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then I said to her, would you do it with a friend? And she goes, like, who? And I was like, me. And she's like, yo. And then one day, and I was like, the next week we just did all these boxes, and then we just gave them out to our friends and family. And I was like, we'll make a social media account, give it out to our friends and family, get some feedback. And I said, I never assumed that people would like it, ever. And then we did that, and then that's how it started. And
gotta shoot the shots you're given.
Yeah, and and everyone in our family was like, why are you doing this? You have a job. And I was like, yeah, but my job is like an office job. It's 9 to 5. It's, it is what it is.
It's different when you love it, eh?
Yeah, when you I'm not like, I get to go and work at Westpac.
Nah, I feel that.
Yeah.
100%. Because even with me, I'm not even trying to push art. I just want kids to find their art. Doesn't have to be my art,
That's it.
Find your thing. And I found out just from teaching kids, bro, that I have the New Zealand under-17s champ boxer in my class, and he's only year 9, and he doesn't talk about it.
Humble.
And then he came out to me and he goes, "Do you watch the fight?" And I go, "Yeah, you follow boxing?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm a boxer." And then all his boys are like, "So he's the under-17 New Zealand champ?" And I was like, "What?"
Damn.
I was like, "See, love that, bro. Chase that,
Yeah.
Love what you want to do."
That's it.
That's a good push, though.
Yeah.
Love what you want to do. Because someone that I interviewed yesterday, Micah, he was saying that I was like, what's the message that you'll give to young people in the community? And he was like, do what you enjoy. And that was it. And I was like, bro, that's so powerful. Because nobody's doing anything that they actually enjoy.
Yeah.
They're just doing, working at factories or just doing the 9 to 5.
That's it.
You know, and we're always pushing to do something else. And especially we want to push it more for people from our communities.
Yeah.
Because it's happening less and less for people in our communities.
We need to normalize it more.
Yeah, normalizing doing something that you love.
Because when someone sees you doing great an exhibition or whatever, or see me selling out a show somewhere in town or whatever, they're like, oh, that guy's from Avondale, or that guy's from Liston or wherever. But it's like, oh, he's one of the very real ones that, it's like.
You got to make it normal. Be like, oh yeah, he's just from, he's just from out west. It's all good.
But then when you look at you see Benny Anthony he was in the Tall Blacks.
He was our coach, bro.
Yeah, Lindsay Tate, all these even Sonny Bill's sister, Niall and that, there's such a strong lineage of people from the area, and even from all over different areas that are doing great things. So it's kind of
yeah. Another thing is that you gotta stop waiting for people to love it to do it.
Yeah,
just do it because you love it. Stop waiting till someone else loves it. Then start doing it.
Yeah, that's an important message. Do it because you love it, and who cares if nobody else does? Because that's exactly what you did. You're working at the factory, and then your boss is like, oh yeah.
Because I started out with all the boys. We always used to rap together, and we did a couple showcases when we were real young, and then some found careers and some had babies and other people did other things and that. And then it got to the point where everyone had their lives. Some of the boys had kids or whatever. Some of the boys were doing their work stuff and finding their career or trade. And then they were seeing me, and I was on the Benny, living with my mom, trying to do music. And they were it got to the point they stopped believing in me, because they were like, oh, we've been going hard at this for a while now. Surely you should have popped off by now or whatever.
Yep.
So I could kind of, it's not like they told me that, but I could just feel it. Like,
that energy.
Getting that vibe from
yeah,
them.
it's like, oh yeah, it's like that. And
But,
so,
you
but
know,
I'd probably feel the same towards someone else if they were like, if I couldn't see that. So I guess it does come down to your determination and like obsession kind of thing.
yeah, because it doesn't happen over day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel
that's what
you
people-
do have to be obsessed with it.
Yeah,
Like
you
you have to have a
it.
crazy obsession with it to be able to pursue it. I think.
I think
especially-
that's important because it was
Yeah.
like a motivational speaker. I can't remember who it was that I was watching. And they said you have to have, it has to be a crazy obsession
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you're like super, super focused and nothing around matters.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
That's it.
imagine if you did listen to the people, your friends,
Mm.
and like, you know, your boss, your old boss.
That's it,
You know,
yeah.
imagine if you didn't have that crazy obsession about your passion. Where would you be right now? Still at the factory,
Exactly.
right?
And
So
how
you-
good would you be right now?
Yeah.
Like
Hard
as
out.
well, like because you like you were saying, you've been baking for years, and you got it down to the point you can give a stranger a cookie. Like you gave me the cookie, I gave it to my cousin, and he was like, "That's the best cookie I've ever had in my whole life, hands down." Like, you know what I mean? And that comes down to how many. Like, if you had just started it 2 weeks ago, and you're like, "Yo, Melo, here's some things," and I gave him the cookie, would he be giving you that same reaction? Do you
Nah.
reckon? Like maybe he did, but like,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is like, it took a lot of
Time.
perfecting.
Exactly. And that's another thing. Like, people think like I'm a mean painter, and it's like, gee, I did so many shit pieces. Like,
yeah.
you have no idea, bro. Like,
People
there's
see
so
the
many shit
success.
pieces, and I'm sure
Yeah.
you've done like some tracks where
Oh,
you're
bro.
like, bro.
Bro, if I play you some of the stuff that I started out doing, I'll be cancelled right now. Like, it just comes down to like being obsessed. I know people have that raw talent and can just pick up a pen and then next minute they're drawing, I don't
Yep.
know, like the Mona Lisa or whatever, or start recording on a microphone and automatically they've got this knack. But not everyone's like that.
Yep.
So yeah,
Takes time.
Trial and error.
that's it. Yeah.
Takes time, man. And you gotta put in the time. That's the
Hard.
biggest thing.
Yeah, and you've done that. Like it's cool that
Yeah.
you've been able to come on and share your story though.
Yeah, nah, facts.
Like-
Like, I feel this is weird though, because I feel I feel like it's not even like the start of where I want to be kind of thing. I feel like it's just kind of breaking the ice or breaking through to be able to get the real like mahi down and stuff. Like, because I want to open a kava bar and got all
What do
these
you
cool
mean?
like things that I want to activate, but it's all in my head. But I can talk about it now, but I'd rather just do it and then come on and talk about it kind of thing. Because I
Yeah.
don't want to be that guy being like, I want to do this and this and this and this, and then
Doesn't
whatever
happen.
happens.
And the next time we see you, we're like, how's that going? You're like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's it. So I like to just do it.
just show up and then be
and
like,
if it happens, then I can talk about it kind of thing. Also, I'm a big believer in manifesting too, but yeah,
that's important
for real.
because people don't actually believe in themselves that they're going to
Enough,
do something,
yeah.
right?
Hard. Even like that whole like if I was in the studio and I made it like a banger that I like and I play it, I would kind of be a bit nervous to play it. I'll be shy.
Yeah.
Whereas like the culture in America is like, if they have something they like, they'll be like, gee, this is gonna be number one. Listen to this. Or like, look at this thing that I just painted. It's the best or whatever. Like if you painted something, would you like the way that we kind of like express ourselves is a little bit like too modest, I feel. And I feel that comes down to that tall poppy stuff.
Yeah,
eh?
it's like I interviewed someone, Fina, and she's a makeup artist. She's really good, but we're not used to compliments,
Yeah, that's
right?
it. Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. From like we've been brought up on being mocked
Yeah.
and being like dissed and stuff, but that's normal, right?
Yeah. facts.
But if someone compliments you from where we're from, like if someone's like, "Oh, you look good," or "Oh, that's nice what you did," you're like, "Oh, okay."
Like, do you mean that? Or
Yeah.
are you
Yeah,
jo-
you're like, "Are you mocking me?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the tall poppy thing. Like we don't know how to take a compliment, and we also don't know how to actually be proud of what we've done.
Yeah, because if you are like, it's like, oh, yo, bro, my album's crazy, and then it's like, bro, that guy's ego's just gone big now. You know what I mean? Like,
But it's good. I think you should
Yeah.
be like that because
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, people in America, they'll put out one average thing, but because they hype it so much, then
Yeah.
the hype's around
and
it.
the hunger over there is crazy. Like when I was over there, I had sessions with some crazy producers, but like I remember I stepped outside and there was a homeless dude just rapping, and he was like literally better than I don't know, top 10 in New Zealand. You know, like that's how crazy it is over there. It's like anyone that raps is really, really good. So it's just like the competition is just nuts over there. So you have to be that hungry. You can't just walk in a room and not have no belief in yourself and then think you're going to get somewhere kind of thing. So, nah, shout for having me on.
Yeah, we appreciate that though.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a real good chat. Like, we love hearing people's stories from the areas that we're from.
Yeah, for sure.
And also showing that you chose a different path despite all the odds. Yeah. And it gives hope for other people that, you know, they might want to be a rapper or they want to help people with mental illness or something like that, something different that's outside what their friends and family are doing. Right. And they could be like, oh, well, Melo's doing it and he's happy and, that's you know.
It, yeah.
And so that's why we want people to share their stories.
Exactly.
Is because you can do something different and enjoy it and it's okay.
Yeah, and when you do, like, pursue it, like, decide, like, I'm going to do it. And then when you do it, and it doesn't work out, that's normal. Like it's all part of getting to where you need to be. Like, and that's what I feel a lot of people do, especially with business owners. They like start a business and then they get overwhelmed and it doesn't work out how they thought it would. And then they're like, oh shit. And then they're like, that didn't work out for me. I'm just going to go back to this. It's like, you got to keep on like doing that and doing that and doing that, failing until one time, oh shit, why is my store packed already or whatever? I don't know what it is, but like, just always got to keep going.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's the whole purpose of our podcast. Is like making people understand that it's never too late.
Yeah,
you know?
That's
it. Never too late to go out there and do it.
Even some of the like, cause I'm not old, but like I'm like, you know, quite old now. And some of the boys like, you know, like getting back into rugby or whatever they want to do. Some people have that mentality. They're like, oh, I'm too old for that now. It's like, bro, you're never too old. Or like, I think the age is up here, like
hard out.
Yeah,
hard out.
But yeah, it's been good having you on. But
I appreciate it.
Normally we end with the
So like, what would you say to your younger self or those that are coming through? Like, what's your advice to them?
To like the younger community,
bro. Like for me, if I was younger, like, and if I could tell someone like that gets caught up in all the bullshit, I would want to just stay home and focus more on what I was doing instead of going out party, because I used to go out to parties and chasing girls and stuff, and when I could have just been at home working on my craft the whole time, like I probably lost 5 years doing dumb shit. I could have been ahead 5 years. Who knows? You know, I can't live with regrets, but like just focus and be obsessed with what you want to do and think about the intention why you want to do it, because a lot of people do things and doing great things, but some people have the wrong intentions and stay blessed.
Thanks, Uso.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
My name's Raquel Main. Thanks for listening to the Never Too Late podcast, recorded at Crescendo Studios, Avondale, engineered by Reese Muir and Micah Thompson. This was sponsored by Upright Truth Tellers Clothing. Please check the show notes for links on where to find us.